Welcome back everyone. In the last episode, we implemented the repository pattern, which acts as the bridge between our data layer and our domain layer. Today, we're moving one step further into the domain layer to talk about use cases, what they are, why we need them, and how to implement them in Flutter with clean architecture. So what exactly is a use case? Think of it this way. A use case represents a single action or piece of business logic that your app can perform. For example, in our news app, one use case might be get news by category. Another could be save an article to bookmarks. The idea is simple. Each use case does only one thing, and it does it well. This keeps our domain layer clean, testable, and independent. Use cases always live in the domain layer because they're part of the app's business rules. They don't care about how the data is fetched or stored. That's the repository's job. Instead, they just call the repository and return the result. Alright, so now let's talk about use cases in practice. Every use case is basically one signal action in our app. For example, get news by category, or save an article, or remove a bookmark. If we write each use case separately, that's fine. But we'll notice they all can't all look the same. They all take some input, and they all return some output. So instead of repeating the same structure again and again, let's create a base use case class that every use case can extend from. Because this class is not specific to news or bookmark or any single feature, we don't want to put it inside the domain of one feature. Instead, we'll put it inside the core folder. Inside core, I create a folder called use cases. And inside it, I will add my Dart file. Here, inside usecase.dart, I create an abstract class called UseCase. Abstract just means this class is a blueprint. We can't create objects from it directly. Instead, other classes will extend from it. I make this class generic with two letters, T and P. Don't let that scare you. T is just the type of data this use case will return, and P is the type of parameter it will accept. Now inside the class, I define a single method called call. This method takes one parameter of type P, and it returns a feature with type T. Notice that I named this method call. Why call? Because in Dart, when you name a method call, it unlocks a really cool feature. You can use the class object like a function. For example, if I have a GetNewsUseCase, I don't need to write GetNewsUseCase.call. I can just write GetNewsUseCase. Dart will automatically use the call method behind the scenes. Okay, so this is the class that all the use cases should implement it. Now let's implement our first use case inside our domain layer, inside our news feature. I call it GetNewsUseCase. This use case will get news articles by category using our repository. I define a class GetNewsUseCase that extends UseCase. For the generics, the return type is news response entity in a data state. If you remember from the previous episode, this is the type that will return inside our repository. Okay, and the parameter is a string here, which is our category. This error tells us that we should override our call method. We will come back to this later. Okay, inside the class, let's use our news repository. I also get the repository inside the constructor. In the next episode, we will learn how to use dependency injections here, but for now, I just skip it. Okay, now let's review our call method. Here, you can see that it returns a data state that holds our news response entity, and it gets the prompts, which is our category. Okay, let's use our repository to return the data state object. Here I write news repository dot get news, and I pass the category to it. Okay, that's it for use cases. We created a generic use case class and then implemented our first use case, GetNewsUseCase. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.